Welcome to Real Life with Jenny 4th anniversary edition. I mean, come on now. This is crazy. 4 years, guys. We've been doing this for 4 years. And for those of you that have stuck with me, thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to me that you're still listening. So grab your favorite drink, grab a snack, and we'll get started. Today, because I'm celebrating, I have Charleston shoes. And I have the little mini ones. Oh my goodness. They're from the Dollar Tree. They're amazing. And they're celebration food. Woo! And I have Earl Grey because if I'm going to do my 4th episode, it's going to be with Earl Grey. Like, we're going to go all in. So let's get real. I cannot believe that I've been doing this for 4 years. When someone made this offhanded comment, hey, you should really do a podcast. I never even thought that I'd be doing this for 4 years. My husband had a podcast. You should go and check it out. It's Christ Connection is the podcast. And he did one for 3 years. And now I've been doing it longer than him. Like, who knew? The person that does not like routine and maintenance is still doing a weekly podcast. I cannot believe what God has done over these 4 years. I just did a number count and we are in 77 different countries as of right now. 77 different countries have listened to this podcast. And I am so grateful because this girl who wanted to be a missionary and wanted to go and teach the alligators about Jesus has a very small impact on the kingdom by having this podcast. It is such a blessing in my life, and I just appreciate all of you. But I want to talk a little bit about anniversaries because they are something that kind of get a bad rap in my own life because anniversaries are something that I am not super great at celebrating. Like, birthdays make me nervous, you know that, and anniversaries make me nervous, and more because I feel this expectation. Like, I feel like there's an expectation there that I can never fill. Like, your 25th anniversary, wedding anniversary, when we had our 25th wedding anniversary, I was like, this feels like a kind of daunting thing. Like, we should be celebrating big, like, it should be huge, and all I can think about is making a lasagna. Like, that's about as creative as I could get. Like, yes, we did a nice trip as a family. My daughter, my husband, and I did a nice trip, which was really great. But when the day came, it's right between Christmas and New Year's, our wedding anniversary. And I have to tell you, there's not a lot of energy left. Like, you have a ton of family things, you have a ton of recitals and church events, and like, it is full. So to put your anniversary in the middle of it, you know, as much as I want to muster up creativity, all of it's gone by then. So I was feeling kind of the same way about this podcast 4th anniversary. Because we have just finished a bunch of district councils and some women's events, and, you know, we're finishing up Sam's junior year and now moving on to senior stuff. And that is very daunting, and college stuff for her. And I'm going, I have no more creativity for Real Life with Jenny 4th episode podcast. So I just thought, because I put so much pressure on this for myself, and, you know, every year I have like bullet points and I have a whole thing, a spreadsheet all ready to go for my anniversary things. I thought I would just come on and just share what I'm actually walking through and tell you that I am what I'm praying for. How about that? Maybe not what I'm walking through, because I talk about that every week, but what I'm praying for. So I am really thinking about revamping kind of my part of Christ Connection. My husband and I have talked about this a little bit. And so I'm praying through that right now. Like, what does my role of Christ Connection look like? Now I have my podcast and I have the email that I send out, which isn't anything other than this podcast being sent out. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to expand that and like have wisdom or not. I'm not 100% sure. I take care of the house. I do the homeschooling. all that kind of stuff. And I do speaking. Am I supposed to expand that? Am I supposed to make it smaller? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And so that's really what I'm praying through right now. Like, I'm like, Lord, what do you want to do with the podcast? Do you want it to be narrowed and I, focus on certain topics? What do you want me to do with this? So I'm currently praying through the podcast and what it should look like. I have wanted to have guests on here for years. In fact, I have 2 people that I have talked to, one that said yes and one that said no, that I really want on this podcast. And I want them to come on and share their stories because I think that a faith story is life-changing, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm praying through, like, Lord, do you really want me to do that? Is that something separate? Like, how do you want me to do that? And I'm praying through what the Lord wants from me as I'm stepping into a new role for Christ Connection. How many times He wants me to speak a year, what kind of events He wants me to speak at, whether it's a Sunday morning, a women's event, a seniors group, kids stuff, because I love kids. And so that whole gamut, that's where I'm praying right now. I'm just praying for wisdom. Are you there? Are you in that same space where you're just going, Lord, what's my next step? Like, I am looking at my life and I know that you want me to change and want me to do something new, but I don't know what that means. I don't see a clear path. Like, I'm just looking going, I can't even see the next step. Like, I'm okay just taking one step at a time, but I don't even see a next step. And I am not a big picture person. My husband is a big picture person. Like, he can dream these dreams for the ministry that I'm like, wow, I never thought of that. Like, I just can't even imagine. I am okay, what kind of tea am I going to drink tomorrow? Kind of dreamer. Which is why bucket lists are such a big deal in my life, because it's so rare that I think of something bigger than me beforehand. And so I am doing that right now. I am asking the Lord to step in and say, Lord, what do you want from me? What role do you want me to do? What I want to be effective. I love that God has allowed me to be part of this ministry, and it is such a blessing to me, but I would like to make a little bit bigger of an impact, because when I speak, it's not, it's good, but it's not as impactful as when Kevin speaks because I'm new, right? So I am just in that season of, Lord, what do you have for me next? And I think that there's many of us that are in that season, that we know that God is stirring in you something. And I was telling Kevin, it's almost like a discontentment for me, that I'm getting a little discontented with the status quo. And I know that sometimes that's not appropriate, but I've brought it before the Lord and said, Lord, this discontentment is here. And I feel like He's saying, yes, because you need to change. Like, you're discontent because I'm trying to get you to move. And I'm like, but Lord, where am I moving to? If it's Hawaii, yes, Lord, yes. It is not. I know we're not moving out of Minnesota. For those who are listening that I meet on a regular basis, I'm not moving anywhere. But I know that God has got something new in my life, and He's got something stirring in your life too. And there are times that it's frustrating and there's a discontentment. And I want you to lean into that a little bit and say, Lord, is this you? Are you causing me to feel discontent because you've got a different plan for me and you want a new thing? And it's scary, but it's also exciting as I'm sitting here praying for, what do you want me to do with this podcast? I've said for years, should I add music? Should I start drinking something other than tea? No, I'm not doing that. But are you in that moment of Lord, I want something new. I'm kind of discontent, or I'm lost. Or you're going, you know what? I'm doing just fine. And the Lord's like, yeah, but I still have something new for you. I remember my pastor as a kid that said, I'm not retiring. I'm not leaving, because there's always something to do for the Lord. And that has kind of been burned into my heart and burned into my DNA, that whatever I'm supposed to do, it doesn't stop. You don't necessarily retire from being a follower of Jesus. You may retire from your job, or you may move on to a new thing. Your kids grow up and you're an empty nester, and so that is a new season. But there's never a time that you grow out of loving Jesus and loving people. And so what is the new thing that God's working in your life? And what is the new thing that you need to be praying for and saying, Lord, I'm not on my 4th anniversary here, but I know that you've got something new. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm asking the Lord to step in and say, Lord, what's my next step? And I'm excited for what your next step is too. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram, Be Real, and Facebook. I'm like, where can you find me? I've only been doing this for several years. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. Soon, reallifewithjenny.com is coming, and I'm so excited about it. I can barely contain myself. It's not up yet, but it is coming. Yay, yay, yay. So let's celebrate together. Let's celebrate about what God has done in the past. And I really am excited about what God has done over these last 4 years. The people that have come and that have gone, some people have listened for a couple of months and then are gone, and then other people have come back on. Like, the Lord has been so faithful with the listening and the numbers that we have behind the scenes. We did have a couple really low months, but I kind of figured out the problem. So I am just excited about what God's doing and thankful for all of you and excited for what God's going to do in your life, because we never get to retire from being Jesus lovers and people that love people. And what does God have for you that's new and exciting? And I pray that as you lean into God this week and to say, Lord, what new thing do you want me to be doing? That he will speak clearly to you and that you will see your next steps. You all have a really great week, and thank you for celebrating 4 years with me.